Hi everyone, it's Majorie here from the Punk Priestess, and welcome to November 2025. We are going to talk all about the astrology for the month, as well as pull some tarot cards and see what the energy is for the month. So we have a lot going on. There is so much happening this month, and what I have here on my screen is the chart for our full moon that happens right in the beginning, the first week of November on November 5th. So we're going to be getting into that. And then we have our new moon on the 20th, Mercury retrograde. So, all the things. There's so much going on. But yeah, thank you so much for subscribing to my Substack, for liking my posts, commenting. It's been growing, and I am glad that you're enjoying these videos. So, as always, for my month ahead post, I will list all of the transits. So, I have a section for the main transits that are the pivotal factors of the month, and then I have the mundane transits. So, if you're really into astrology and you want to kind of keep a more, day-to-day basis on what's going on, definitely look at those mundane transits. I also recommend too getting your own personal almanac through Honeycomb Company. And this is only, I would say it probably under $40. You can kind of customize it to make it a little bit cheaper, a little bit more expensive, but this is kind of my lifeline to help me stay in the know with the astrology of the month. And then it does curate it for your own individual chart. And this is a way you can kind of follow what's happening on a day-to-day, even hourly basis of what's going on with the transits in correlation to your natal chart. So this is what I'm using here to read off some of these transits. And we're just going to go right ahead and talk about this full moon. And I'm going to do a deeper breakdown with my monthly lunar post. Every 2 weeks, I do a whole post on the full moon of the month, talk about the Sabian symbols that inspire the energy behind the full moon. And then I also create my own tarot spread for the moon. And then in the next 2 weeks, we have our new moon, and I will do the same thing. So every month, I do a major lunar breakdown. But this is the first chart I wanted to kind of talk about, and we'll kind of go through some of the other transit charts here. But we have our full moon in Taurus at 13 degrees and 22 minutes. So this is going to be pretty major. It's exactly opposing our sun here in Scorpio. And we also have this moon really making a lot of impact with some of this energy here of the North Node. We have our North Node. It's in Pisces, and then we also have our South Node in Virgo here. So there's like this trine that's happening. So, we kind of have to reflect on what was going on around this time last year, which was the election. And what's also interesting too is that this is when we're going to have our big mayor election in New York on this day, and we're going to see, the outcome of that. But we were kind of seeing what happens when you vote for a dictator. And I think November is going to be a very hard month in this country. This is where the tower really starts to crumble and fall, especially if we're going to be having 20 million people, 24 million people are on food stamps, 14 million people are children. And we're going to be seeing a mass starvation, the worst since the Great Depression. So when I was going through the astrology of the year, like I do every December before the new year begins, November was something energetically to me. It was a month that felt like the tower moment in tarot, where the foundation is crumbling piece by piece, but it's actually like it's not just, a little here and there. Like we've seen the tower crumble, but it's actually shaking. And I remember too for a lot of my clients that they had the tower card appear in their spread. It's wild. Like 9 out of 10 of my clients had the tower appear in their year ahead spread. And I will be opening up those year ahead readings again on Black Friday, so look out for that with a special discount. But I know for my own chart, I pulled the tower. I think I did pull it for November. And a lot of my clients had the tower card being pulled in their spread for October and November. So I knew there was major collective crisis happening in the month of November. And it's not surprising too with our retrogrades happening. So what we have going on is we have our Mercury going retrograde, and that is going to officially start on the 9th of November. And we have our Jupiter going retrograde in Cancer. That is going to be on November 11th. We have also too Uranus is retrograde. We have Neptune retrograde. This is the last hurrah of Neptune being in Pisces for the next 72-ish years. And then this is the last time that we're, sorry, that's actually, it's going to be over 100 years of Neptune. And then also with Uranus, this is going to be the last time for like 84 years that it's going to be in Taurus. So, this is kind of like really the end of these major planetary shifts in these zodiac signs. So, we're going to be really seeing a lot play out. I think it's interesting as well that the moon is in conjunct, is in trine to the South Node in Virgo, because Virgo is acts of service. It's very feminine. I mean, it's the harvest. And with this moon, it's really highlighting, it's illuminating, I feel, some of this mass starvation that could be happening. It's also interesting too is that this South Node is in the 10th house. So there's something public that is going to be connected to this moon. And also too, Virgo is not only the harvest, it's not only crops and food, but it is health. It is our physical health. And I feel, there's going to be a lot of conversation already with the government shutdown and how it's about the healthcare premiums and how that's going up. And people are already getting their statements for what it will look like in 2026, and it's pretty scary. So this is interesting. Like this moon, it's no joke. It's really highlighting a lot of major issues that should not even be issues. We shouldn't be going through this. But really it's going to be the food and the health, and that is the South Node in Virgo, and that is something we have to kind of rectify, and we're not going to have a choice because it's in the 10th house of public knowledge, information. Also, too, let's kind of see the health of some political figures. A lot of doctors are saying that Trump only has at most 5 to 7 months, fingers crossed. But there could be some health things going on with certain people. We see Mitch McConnell falling all over the place. So there's going to be a lot coming, I think, with people's healths in positions of power, as well as people collectively struggling with health, as well as not even being able to eat, which is starvation. So, this moon is interesting. And also Taurus. Taurus is the bull. Taurus is, the cow in the pasture. It's grazing, it's eating. It is also too about your physical well-being and your health as well. So it's interesting that we have these earth signs together, and this cycle. Also paying attention. The moon is in the 6th house that rules Virgo, that is our health. So there's going to be a lot here coming in with this government shutdown, with the SNAP benefits closed. I think there's going to be a lot of death coming with the sun in opposition to the moon. So the sun in Scorpio. I mean, Scorpio already is death. It's the death card in tarot. It's the end. And this can be definitely a physical death. I think there could be some physical death coming, but this is also a psychological death. This is a death of the shadow. So we're really embracing a lot here with the sun in the 12th house. The shadow is coming to the surface. It's like really dark. This is as dark as it can get, is in the 12th house. So this kind of, it seems very daunting. It seems very scary, but we already know what's at stake here. We already know what the reality is. It's also interesting as well. We have our planets of Saturn and Neptune back in Pisces. They're retrograde right now. Saturn will go direct on November 21st. So it will go direct in Pisces. It's going to stay in Pisces for another 5 months. So it's not leaving Pisces anytime soon because it has to get to the rest of the degrees. So, it's going to take some time here. When Saturn goes direct, I'm sorry, it's going direct the 27th. Ceres is going direct the 21st in Aries. So it will be at 25 degrees in 9 minutes once Saturn goes direct. And this is in the fourth house. So the fourth house, this is home, this is heritage, this is the land. This is our country. House of Cancer, the United States is a Cancer sun. So this is kind of cryptic. I will say this is a cryptic astrology with this moon. And this is really going to be, I think, mass starvation, mass death, mass health crisis on the homeland. Um, but there's something here at the North Node. It's like, this is a sinister way of putting it with the 12th house, with 29 degrees of November of Neptune too. And then we have Ceres kind of bundled up in there, which is like this divine mother energy. There's going to be something going on with mothers not being able to feed their children. That is, I think, a very clear, coherent way of looking at this. But I also feel um, there is this darker side of spirituality of like people who need to learn the hard way. Some people need to learn the hard way in order to understand what they voted for, to understand when evil is staring them in the face. Some people, you can tell them, you can bring them all the facts, you can bring in your real life experience, you can, give them examples, but they won't believe it, they won't see it for themselves until they go through something, they go through their own crisis. And that is really, I think, kind of this manipulative master plan of Neptune at the critical degree of 29. This is the last ounce of lessons that Neptune can give of this Pisces energy. And Pisces, it can be very transcendent, but in order to get that transcendence, we have to go through the dark night of the soul of Scorpio. And so that's kind of where we are. Um, we're seeing here with the South Node that the past repeats itself. This can be, it's interesting too. When I was teaching about Jupiter in Cancer and the dates of Jupiter in Cancer throughout the past century, Jupiter was in Cancer right in the beginning of the stock market crash that started the Great Depression. So I knew since the beginning of this year that there was going to be some type of crisis similar to it based off of the astrology. And this is kind of, in a way, our own form of the stock market crash. Maybe it will, but it's more connected to the fourth house of Cancer, which is family. And it's legacy too. It's history. History repeats itself. But also it's we need to learn from this. And not every, it sucks. Like, this is not my lesson to learn. This is not millions of other people's lessons to learn. But unfortunately, in order for everyone to kind of band together, people need to go through this lesson. And a lot of people are going to, I mean, the astrology is very straightforward. There's going to be a lot of, I think, death that's coming. Not saying it's going to happen, this first week of November here, but it is going to be something that might, stretch out for a while within the next several years if they can't get this healthcare debate settled. We do have also Mars at 0 degrees in Sagittarius. So that's a little reckless. It's also conjunct Mercury in Sagittarius right before it goes retrograde. So this is interesting here how, this is very obvious astrology. It's nothing hidden. It's very textbook here. But I think there's a lot of aggression. I think people are waking up. And from this, there will be some type of reaction. I'm going to go ahead and just look at the chart for Mercury retrograde happening on the 11th. So November 11th, and this is going to be at 11:41 a.m. Eastern Time. And this chart website that I'm using, this is called Luna Astrology. It's amazing. It's $7.99 a month. If you are a professional astrologer, that's a great tool to use. And I like the format. You can kind of customize it yourself if you want like darker colors or where you want to put your planets and degrees in the chart and what type of symbols you want to include. So I definitely recommend getting Luna Astrology for another chart format. So, here's our Mercury retrograde chart. As you can see, we have a lot of movement going on. We have the seventh house activated by the moon as well as Jupiter. So, maybe there can be around this time some negotiations. I feel like shit's going to hit the fan. But I also think, too, this can be a time when people are banding together. There's something collective here, especially with Mars and Sag getting closer together because of this retrograde. There's something here, and Juno's following along too. It is depending on the degrees you use an orb. It can be, pretty close, but it's still, to me, out of orb to be in conjunct with Mercury and Mars. But there is something here with the 11th house being highlighted as well as the seventh house. And then the sun's in the 10th. So, this kind of feels hopeful for me. This seems like people are going to be banding together to make sure, that everyone's supported. Community works faster than government. So, there's going to be, I think, like a saving grace coming in. Pluto's also in the first house, which tells me at 1 degree and 33 minutes of Aquarius that there is kind of this new way of visualizing. What this country can become. And that is what Pluto in Aquarius is set to do. It's set to create a new paradigm. It's going to take 20 years to build out. Like we're just in the beginning phases of Pluto in Aquarius. It's at 1 degrees. It has to get to 29, 30, and that's going to be until 2043. So, this is going to be, I think, the first inception of an idea of a way that people can just rely on themselves and get away from government, which is how I think it should be because the government is failing us. And this is, I think community care. This is people taking activism into their own hands, supporting each other. What's interesting too is we have the second house that now has the North Node, Ceres, Neptune, and Saturn all conjunct connected together. So to me, this is another indication that there's something financial going on, maybe some financial debates. There's also some maybe financial withholding still happening because, Saturn in the second house, it's very stubborn when it comes to money. So there's something here, and this could be, stubbornness. And this is why people have to rely on themselves, rely on community. And that's, I think a way that we can get away from this government and we can just rule over ourselves. And I feel there's this Mercury retrograde. It's interesting. The tarot card that's connected to Mercury retrograde in Sagittarius is the Eight of Wands. So there's something swift, there's something quick about this energy that is really fast paced. And it's like, especially with hunger, when people are starving, like that is something you have to rectify very quickly. And this can also be a lot of like mass heated tension, maybe more protests. I mean, it can be a little volatile with Pluto in the first house. There could be some physical repercussions, danger, harm. We know Trump's incentive is to incite the National Guard. And this is maybe his way of doing it is by actual mass starvation. But if we do not be triggered by this ploy, band together, help our communities feed themselves, then this is a way that we can come together to create some type of action, to create some type of force, to prevent more backlash from the government that is literally trying to kill us, literally trying to kill us. I was talking to a friend about this was like a couple months ago, and I was just like, this is crazy. It's like, how can you navigate something like this? It's never happened before. And my friend was like, yeah, this is the first time in history our government has tried to kill us. And it's really true. They literally are doing that. The most evilest, incompetent people. But that's something to remember. These people have no experience. They have no idea what they're doing. So this is where the 11th house, the seventh house, really comes together to you bring some type of uniting bipartisan uniting to kind of band up and go against these oligarchs and these evil people. And that's what I feel is going to happen. But there's a lot of spontaneity with the Sagittarius. There's not a lot of foresight sometimes. It's like shooting that arrow, trying to just hit the target, but you're going to miss every now and then. And that could be what happens a little bit with this 11th house. But there's something here with just like Pluto being in the first house the day that Mercury goes retrograde that feels um like brutal but then optimistic. It feels like there is this, people are getting out of the cult, like there's no way you can still follow this regime when people are literally starving. So I think this is kind of, a way of awakening here. Um so it's, I feel you know this month is very political with the astrology. You can't talk about the astrology right now without talking about what's politically happening in this country and the influence this country has. And this volatility, this aggression, this combative energy of the month is due to, really what is going on in the US and how that's influencing and affecting everyone. I'm going to just kind of speed ahead here and look at the day that Saturn goes direct. So that is going to be November 27th. It is at 10:51 p.m. Let's see how much has changed. All right, so we have everything basically on the right hemisphere, which also shows me that there's a lot happening internally. So we have the fourth house very activated. So there's a lot going on in the home. There is also too a lot of activation going on in the eighth house. So this might be around the time when there is some type of financial dealing, some type of law, maybe the government comes back on. I know that there's been rumors of the government shutdown lasting into 2026. I would not be surprised with how evil and ill and incompetent this administration is, but there's something here financial that is going on. I mean, maybe this is, again, the eighth house, this could be a passing. Um, so, let's kind of see, it could be maybe like a physical ending and death of someone. And it can also be a physical end and a death to some type of idea, some type of, plan. And there's something healing going on spiritually with Chiron and Aries in the ninth house. So, whatever ends around this time. And again, if astrology, just because, a transit happens on an actual day doesn't mean the influence is going to be exactly on that day. Like this influence is going to be a while. It's going to be like months of this retrograde influence of Saturn in Aries, Saturn in Pisces. So this isn't just going to be a one day moment. This is going to transcend into the next several months of the year. And I feel, or I guess, yeah, I think it's the shadow period after, or to kind of get the planet physically back in its orbit. It might take a couple months for Saturn. So this is something that's going to have like a long-term lasting effect of what takes place around this time. And to me, this is kind of symbolizing some type of random instability. It could be shocking because we have Uranus in Taurus at the critical 29 degrees. So it's interesting. Taurus is at 29 degrees as well as Neptune is at 29 degrees. And then we have our Mercury still retrograde at 26 degrees, Cancer, Jupiter in Cancer at 24 degrees. Um, Saturn at 25 degrees. So we have a lot of these like late degrees, but I think it's really critical that Uranus is at 29 degrees as well as Neptune. And it's in the 10th and the 8th house. So to me, this can be some type of very impulsive, maybe violent type of attack. Maybe there's something, some death that occurs, or it could be someone passes in quite a shocking, unexpected way. Um, and maybe there's some healing involved. It's kind of like the Charlie Kirk situation, how a very evil person shockingly, abruptly, was it, there's conspiracy if this was premeditated and planned, who knows? We don't know yet, but until then it was a very shocking event. But there's healing in this because one less evil person is on this world spreading rhetoric that is very harmful to people. So there's something here also with Jupiter in the 12th house of endings, karmic endings. But then we have our self node in the first house too, which is like something ending from the past as well. So I don't know. There's something going on here. Our Pluto's in the sixth house of health, fourth house activated with all the inner planets. Um, I don't know. Maybe this is around the time. Maybe this is when, who shall not be named, our modern day Voldemort passes away, we would hope. But I think this is also, let's kind of see something pivotal that occurs. It can either be, I think it is going to be kind of like the psychological shift, a new way of thinking, old way dying hard with these 29 degrees that are very critical. But I also feel like there could be some type of financial conversations, contracts coming in, laws being made, an ending to something there. Will this be the government reopening? I'm not sure, but I do think there is going to be some major moves that occurs around this time. So just kind of keep your eye out for the 27th or around this time again, give or take. It doesn't always mean it's happening on this day, but this is the timing where something, a new seed is being planted. Um, or something is really majorly ending, like this is really crazy astrology. I'm not going to lie. I knew something vibrationally in November just felt very dark to me, and I didn't really know what it was because this year has just been full of chaos and surprises. It's been a very late degree Uranus activated year, but something here, I felt it. I was just like, November seems very, very dark. And it seems mysterious. It seems like something's going to happen. Um, it felt like a death. It felt like a funeral. That's just the energy that I can just describe. But I didn't really know it at the time. But now as like we're getting closer, I think we kind of see the building blocks, lining up. The last transit I want to talk about is the 29th year. And this is when Mercury goes direct again. And this will be in Scorpio. So this will be at 12:38 p.m. And we have it here at 20 degrees and 42 minutes. So the shuttle, is going to begin. But wow, there's a lot. Pluto's moving throughout the month with these transit charts. It was in the first, and now at the end of the month, it is in the 12th. So a whole cycle throughout the houses. And this kid's like, a psychological unearthing with Pluto here. Pluto is the underworld. Pluto is our hidden desires and secrets, coming to the surface. It's the things we don't want to look at that we push away in our psyche. Like that is Pluto. And it's back in the 12th house here. So it's something hard. Like it feels like grief to me. With grief, there's so many different parts of grief. You're elated, you're angry, there's the seven stages, I think. But there's something here with this first house being activated now, with the moon coming in. Actually, I kind of skipped the new moon chart. Let me just backtrack a little bit. Let me just go to the 20th of the month. And this is at 1:47.
a.m. is our new moon in Scorpio. Kind of jumped ahead a little, but just to kind of see, our third house, um, gearing up for something here. Like I think the people gearing up for something, like there's still this very strong collective influence from the beginning of the month ringing true. But this could also be as we near the end of the month. I'm just gonna go back to Mercury being direct on the 27th, 29th, almost the last day of the month here. Um, yes, we have all this first house energy. So to me, something has happened that's been major this month, and then there's this whole new perspective shifting, this whole new paradigm evolving with these planets in the first house as we leave the month. And with our sun here in the ninth house. It is like this spiritual kind of renewal. It could be even stepping more into faith. It's like having our faith be tested. I think a lot of people are already having their faith be tested. My faith has been tested this year. It's still being tested, but yeah, there's something like unsettling that happens in November, and then it kind of like relieves us. But then it's like kind of the beginning. It's like, okay, but this is just the beginning of the change that we need to continue to make. The story is not over. The story is just being written. And there seems like there's more optimism and faith. There's a lot of collective action with these planets continuously stationing in the 10th house of the public. There can be some aggression, happening here as well. To maybe this is like, what I was kind of thinking too, looking at the moon chart on the 20th. To me, this seems like, someone, it could be a radical group, are going to really lose their shit. And that could be it too. Another like Luigi situation, but on a greater scale. That could maybe be what comes about. But there is something here with like, suppressed news, suppressed information, more is coming out of the woodworks. That's the thing of Pluto and Aquarius. It does not hold secrets. Things are going to be revealed about the public, and it's going to be something that the collective will be able to know. So Pluto it has been able to get away with it for a long time, just kind of keep things under wraps and not really reveal a lot. But with Aquarius, everything comes out into the fold in very unexpected, interesting ways. Um, this astrology kind of reminds me of the episode I just watched recently of the morning show, and I think it's episode 7, but there is this really major shift that happens with AI and Stella, one of the main characters of the show, and pretty much her whole life blows up in a matter of 2 minutes. And it alters not only the course of her career, but it alters the course of the company. And then it's kind of like, her final bow in a sense. A little bit of a spoiler if you haven't seen the episode, but this reminds me of like, the final act of the United States is really coming to fold. Once your people aren't fed, once your people don't have health care, and it's just, a death battle at this point, they have no money, they have no resources. Um, that is the fall of the empire. The empire will completely fall when those things are all gone. And I think, taking away the food, taking away the health care, taking that's like what you need for peak survival. That's when the empire falls. And to me, November is the final act of the United States. And then it's just complete chaos. And I feel a lot of people are going to want to take matters into their own hands moving forward into 2000 and 26. So, it's very bleak. This is a very bleak month. Like I said, it feels like a funeral. This whole year has felt like a funeral. I mean, empires crumble and fall and die every 250 years. The US will be 250 in July of next year. So, this empire, we're watching it collapse in real time. All we have to do is open up our phone. It's not carrier pigeon like in other, ages and other civilizations. Like, it's instant. And that's the gratification of technology with Pluto and Aquarius, as well as we're going to see even things speed up with Uranus going into Gemini. So we're going to have a lot of chaotic energy. It's just getting amplified, but I think this is kind of the slow death. Um, it's the slow death, but then I kind of feel like the tower's really falling here with the events that are going to happen. Again, I don't know the details of it, but what I can sense is that there's going to be some major loss, a lot of tragedy. Some of it's unexpected, some of it is, I mean, most of it could have been avoidable, I feel. But this is, the let them eat cake moment. And what happens after the let them eat cake movement is pitchforks, revolution, guillotine. So that is what we're gearing up to. And this is the astrology of 2025. It's gearing us up for the same cycles. The astrology is mirroring the revolution, the French Revolution times, as well as the American Revolution and World War II. So there's a lot of patterns repeating itself here. But I'm not going to go over the mundane transits. That will be on my Substack. All of the transits of like what planets are going into what zodiac signs. That will be happening on my Substack as well. So look for that. But yeah, this I know it's bleak, but there's no sugarcoating with what's happening. We're taking off the rose-colored glasses, and we got to step into reality. We got to step into truth of what is happening, and we can't make excuses for it anymore. But this is a month of a funeral. Something is ending, something is metaphorically and physically dying. And let's kind of pull some tarot cards just to kind of see another glimpse of what November of this year is going to be for us. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen here. All right. And I will be taking pictures of all the cards. So it might be kind of hard for you to see everything in live time because my setup is, a little DIY. But yeah, that's kind of the gist of it. So I was gonna light some sage, but I will just cleanse instead with this. I don't have my lighter by me. Um, But I feel like we need to take a collective breath. Times are heavy, and like you can feel the looming Scorpio energy. We have a lot in Scorpio right now. And then even more so coming with the retrograde going back and forth with Mercury from Sagittarius to Scorpio. But the first day of Scorpio season, um, I looked at my chart and right now I have Mars was conjunct my natal Pluto, so that was really great. But it's been very exhausting. It's been very debilitating. It has felt really heavy. Um, usually Scorpio season hasn't felt this heavy. I know the veil is very thin and it's like spooky season, but I mean, Scorpio always has a little bit of a darker reputation, but this really feels like a different shadow that's appearing. Um, but everyone I've been talking to too, like my clients, my coworkers, my students, like this Scorpio season has felt different. It's felt closer to death. It has felt that way, like energetically. So it feels like it's not really a seance. It's more of like an exorcism. Scorpio season is an exorcism. Like that's what it feels like right now. So I'm going to just kind of start with the main energy, just see what the vibes are. I have a bunch of different decks. I don't gatekeep the decks I use. So when I show the whole spread of the cards, I will list like what the decks are for each card. So you can support them. I like to use a lot of indie artists for my decks. So we're gonna start with the main vibe. Let's see what November has to bring us. Interesting. So, this is kind of reflective to what I was talking about here. We have our psyche. And this is an agreement we have to make, like a mind, body, spirit agreement that we have to make here. with our psyche. And, this could really be the 29 degrees of Uranus in Taurus, 29 degrees of Neptune in Pisces. We have to make an agreement to not be disillusioned, to take some type of action, to get our mind straight with the magician. We have to make a psychological agreement with ourselves to put our magic out into the world, to use our skills and talents intentionally, to use our voice intentionally. That is what we collectively have to figure out. How do we do that? How do we show up? What is our role during the revolution? What can we do to help community? What can we do to help our families? What can we do to help our friends? What can we do to help ourselves? And this is like an exercise that you can do. This is an exercise I did right after the election because I knew things were going to be fuck shit. I wrote down every single thing that I was good at, every single skill that I had been able to develop in my 33 years of life, the talents that I have, the experience that I have. I wrote a list and I forgot how good at things that I was. I forgot that I freaking knew how to sew. I forgot that I was a Reiki practitioner because I haven't done it in a couple months. Like sometimes, like, because it's not in front of you constantly, like we forget it and it's on the back burner. But the magician here is saying, bring it out into the fold and bring it towards others. Talk about it. Talk about what you're doing. Get your ideas out of your head and vocalize them. That is when, manifestation happens. It happens when you speak it into existence. And there's this agreement with our psyche that we need to make that it's okay to act on this. It's okay to act on the things that are trapped inside. It's okay to change our mind. And that's a lot of people, a lot of people are having buyer's remorse. And they're like, ooh, I should have, done a better job of educating myself. I should have had a better imagination. That's why we're stuck into this because people don't have an imagination of what, this could look like. That's why people didn't want this to happen because they knew history, but they knew, how bad things can get. But a lot of people don't have an imagination. They are so privileged or stuck into their own box. They didn't know what a dictatorship was. But it's here, so it's in your face. What are you going to do about it? And that's what the magician and the psyche card is having us reflect on and recognize. What are we going to do? Write down that list. What are some ways that you can contribute? What are some things that you're good at? What are some skills, or talents, things that you love to do that you haven't done in a while? How can you get yourself back into that, routine just for some type of self-medication, just for to keep yourself grounded during these times? Like rest is revolution too. But there's some type of action with the magician. And what planet does the magician rule? Mercury. Here's our Mercury energy. And it's no mistake. There's no mistake in the astrological timing of our lives, of the collective. There's no mistake that Mercury retrograde happens almost a year after this election. And a lot of people are mentally backtracking. A lot of people are really trying to find a way to comprehend of the choices and decisions that they made, but also on how to move forward. And that's, there's a little bit of mental gymnastics here, but I feel a lot of it is people getting informed, people waking up, um, people having constructive conversations of how to better community, of how to show up for people, of how to give back, of how to, do trades for skills. That's what my grandfather used to do. He was a very multifaceted person and he had a lot of hand skills. So he was like a mechanic. He was just very good with his hands. Um, and he just had so much skill, and that's how he would help his community is through the skill. Someone needed, their oil change or they needed like this done with their lawn. He was able to do that. And, there was an exchange for something, and that's what I think we might have to come back to that. We'll kind of see how technology plays a role in this, and that's actually the main. This is it can be kind of Neptune energy too, because Neptune is a higher octave of Mercury. And the reason why we're in this is because Neptune is the real villain of astrology, and psychologically, the information of fake news and conspiracy theories psychologically changed the American people and made them vote against themselves, made them kind of fall into this dictatorship. So now the truth is being revealed. Now, people are starting to wake up and understand that they've been disillusioned and they have to, put some pedal to the metal. They got to take some action for, they got to take some accountability for the choices that they've made. But people are seeing the consequences little by little. Um, but yeah, that's, really, people are waking up from the disillusionment of the internet, of social media, of conspiracy theories, because you can't have a conspiracy theory over people starving, because that's something you can blatantly see, and we're all going to be seeing the repercussions of that. Um, and that's, I think, kind of a little bit of the beauty of a lot of these planets moving into Aquarius next year, Neptune and Saturn, is because nothing's going to be able to be hidden. It's going to be out in the open. And with that, it's going to be a lot of anger and aggression that is coming. So and just talking about Aries energy, what do I pull? The two cards of Aries, which is the Emperor in the major arcana, and then our Queen of Wands in the minor arcana. This is both Aries energy here. So Aries energy is coming. It's interesting. We have our Queen of Wands reversed. My personal favorite card is reversed. And this is kind of telling us that there is a little bit of a lack of self-guidance coming in. But it's also a timing when we need to do a lot of reflection of what control of what power looks like with the Emperor. I also have this Nine of Swords, which I actually prefer this card reverse. So something's telling me that there's not so much fear anymore. Like we're stepping out of fear, but because we stepped out of fear, it takes time to also step into confidence. And I think that's why our Queen of Wands is reversed. But the Emperor's like, we got to just continue to move forward anyways. Nothing's ever going to be perfect or set in stone. And that's the Aries way. The Aries way is just, let's, keep swimming. Let's keep swimming. A little bit of a Dory from Finding Nemo, that little saying, like, just keep swimming, just keep swimming. That's really the Aries mentality. It's like, just keep going. You'll figure it out as you go. Be headstrong, be assertive, be empowering, be a pioneer, go out into a new direction. And that is our emperor. So, we can't go back to the way things once were, like that portal has closed. But we have to find a way to create, to envision, to actualize what power and what control can look like. And I think, there's going to be more and more people who are going to be beholden and stepping into their confidence, like the woman in the polka dot dress, flicking off the ICE agents in New York City. That's a way that people are going to be stepping into their power and not quite literally giving a fuck. And that is going to be how we embrace this emperor. And that's Aries. You can't tell Aries what to do. Aries are going to be the leaders. They will be in control because they're the ones who hold the vision for the zodiac, and the rest of the zodiac kind of plays the part of the instruction that the emperor, that Aries gives. And that's the way it's supposed to be. Um, but this new vision, it's making itself as it goes along. But there's this feeling of not being scared, not being fearful of this new vision playing out. It feels hopeful, it feels optimistic, it feels like something new, but there is still a little bit of this lack of confidence, a lack of the shakiness that it can be really, be played out. It can pull through. It can become something tangible and real and sustainable. And we're not there yet. Um, Saturn will be in Aries until 2028, April, and Saturn will be in Neptune until 2032. So we still have some time. Like these cycles, these planetary cycles are going to really take time to build and get off the ground. But we're seeing like the grassroots right now. We're seeing the seeds, being planted. They're very fertile. But I think it's great that the Nine of Swords is reversed to kind of say like there's no fear. Um, and it also reminds me of the Big Thief song from Double Affinity, the new album, which is my favorite album of 2025. It's very much Aquarius energy. And the album came out on a Aquarius full moon. So, very beautiful synchronicities. But there is a song that is about no fear and having no fear as you move into the future. And that is how this feels. But it still feels shaky. It still feels new. People are like, they're a little concerned, they're a little apprehensive of trusting the vision. But I always have to say to people as an Aries, just trust the vision, trust my vision, trust my vision. And like always, the vision comes to life. And then people are like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. I'm like, you just had to trust my vision. And that is what this energy is here. Trust the vision, having faith and confidence. And, this is a collective vision we're talking about as something new and a way of like new ways to govern, new ways to empower, but also trusting our own visions for our future. And that's something we really have to focus on. We have to let go of the apathy. We have to let go of the negativity. It's hard when all you can kind of visualize is worst case scenario or things not working out in the lives of others or yourself. So it's hard to like flip the script. It's going to take time, which is why the Queen of Wands is reversed. But don't lose that inner light. And this is a time to go into the psyche because the traditionally the imagery for the Queen of Wands has a black cat. And that black cat is the psyche. The black cat is the shadow. And that is what we need to embrace. We need to have a conversation with our shadow. We need to have a conversation with the deeper parts of ourselves. Let them come to the surface, and we need to take accountability. And we're doing that in some way, shape, or form. It's not as much as a grand scale as it needs to be, but people are waking up, but even in ourselves, thinking about how we can do better, how we can be accountable, have ourselves be accountable, how we can step more into a new way of visualizing how our reality and life can go and grasping, holding on to new dreams. Um, let's see here. I'm going to pull some more cards. I think it's also fitting too. There's a lot of fiery energy, a lot of movement. Aries and Scorpio share the same modern day ruler planet of Mars. So there's a lot of Martian energy coming through. Um, this is pretty optimistic what I'm pulling. I have our Guardian of Pentacles, and then I have our Four of Swords. So but our guardian, I believe, is the page in this deck. So, I think a lot of this is kind of staying in faith and staying in peace. And that's why don't fear these people. These people have no idea what they're doing in this government. They're ugly. They have no experience. They have no intelligence. They're evil. They're manipulative. They're blinded by greed. They have no empathy. They're not, that means if you have no empathy, you're not human. So, and I think people are waking up to that. It's like they don't know what the hell they're doing. So don't be scared. Don't fear them. And stay in your peace with the Four of Swords. Shut out the negativity. Shut out the manipulative tactics. Shut out the gaslighting. The gaslighting is also, them holding on to dear life. But you can't manipulate intelligent people who are under the spell. Um, but I think this Guardian of Pentacles is a really good sign of prosperity in new directions, a new way of issuing and handling finances. This could also be an indication of uh, ideas that once were very new, very much in the beginning stages of development, like kind of a plant that was just sprouting new growth, really kind of taking hold and becoming something. And this could be people in positions of power, a new perspective, a new change, a new way of doing things, which is very much Pluto and Aquarius. Like it's a new way of handling and delegating power. Um, but I think a lot of this is just staying in faith. People think this is a dark time. Yes, it can feel very dark. Like I said, it feels like a funeral, but really, this is a time of light because everything is getting revealed to us. We are no longer in shadow. We can feel the shadow, we can feel the darkness, but it feels dark because we're aware of it. When we weren't aware of the inner dealings, that's when you're under this false pretense that things are okay. And really behind the scenes, there's alternative motives. There's other, situations going on. And I knew with looking at the Sabian symbols for 2024, leading up into the election, that there was some hidden dealings and things we did not know how intense they were. Um, but we're seeing them come to the surface. But we're not going to always have the sense of urgency. Maybe when Uranus goes into Gemini, there'll be more of a sense of urgency of information coming out. But until then, we have to just remain in peace. We have to be patient for things to be revealed to us about certain people, about certain situations, about certain plans. Um, so there's something here of just like the universe has you. Don't spiral. Focus on the new vision. Look forward, drive your car forward. Don't look in the rearview mirror. The days of looking in the rearview mirror, like this planet's are at 29 degrees. It's like you really got to keep your eyes on the road. It's so easy to get turned around in these fragile moments. But the more that you trust the vision of the emperor, the more that you don't operate in fear, you operate in peace, you operate in patience, that everything is going to work out, everything is going to come, the karma, what goes around comes around. Karma doesn't never misses an address, but sometimes karma doesn't always work on our timing. But this Mercury retrograde, that's why I think Mercury retrogrades are very important to have 3 to 4 times a year so that we can see the truth being revealed to us that we missed the first time or information that was withheld from us a while ago. And I think we're going to be seeing a lot of things unfold. And it's not just going to be the couple weeks of this Mercury retrograde period. This is going to be a little bit more of a longer effect of some of these things being revealed from the shadows, from the psyche, the dark collective psyche. But stay in peace. Everything is working out and coming at the timing that it should. There's no mistakes in the universe. Everything is on its own divine timing and mission. And I think the more we realize that, we honor that, the more stability and permanency that we can build for longevity. Let's see here. What else do I kind of want to pull? Kind of feeling called to use this Science Sigils deck. I'm gonna just pull a card here. I might need the guidebook for this because it's a new deck that is not traditional. But let's just kind of pull a card here. Okay, nice. So the sigil card I have is Wonder, which I think this a magician? I gotta look at the guidebook really quickly and just kind of see what major arcana card this is connected to. Because every single card in this deck is connected to a major arcana. Um, let's see here. Okay, so sorry. This is actually the Fool. This is the beginning. So this is interesting here. Wonder represents new beginnings, spontaneous choices, and the courageous leap into the unknown. It encourages a journey of self-discovery and transformation. The sigil energizes and balances vitality, promotes courage, and helps overcome limitations. So, creating new beginnings, freedom, change, spontaneous choices. So, I love that. So, this is exactly the energy that we need. So, we have a little bit of fool-like energy coming in. And that's exactly tied to Uranus and Gemini, but also tied into the Emperor. So it's interesting too, like we're in the beginning of the suits. We have card 0, have card 1, and then we have card 4 coming in. So one after another, symbolizing that this is a new paradigm that we're entering, but we have to create it with this new vision. We have to take action as we're building it. We have to just build as we go. And not be afraid of the journey ahead, not be afraid of this new terrain and where we're going, because we've realized we can't go back to the way things once were because it's no longer sustainable. It's no longer working. It's capsized on itself. It has crumbled. And that's kind of the blessing in disguise with the tower is that it crumbles, the towers fall, we're no longer obscured and with our view, and we can see all that is before us. And that is where we begin the visualization of the star. After the tower comes the star of Aquarius, where Pluto is at. So if you kind of, see how the cycle comes together, how it connects, that this is it. I'm going to pull one more card here. I don't want to make this video too long, but it's pretty wild. However, everything's just really coming together. All the synchronicities are aligning, and it's giving us clear instruction of what we need to do this month and how we're going to build this new world and be in charge of it. And who's in charge of it is we, the people. It's not these oligarchs. It's not these political figures that we need term limits. We need age limits, with some of these people. I'm gonna pull our last card and I'm gonna read a little bit about this too. We have the color of yellow. So this seems very optimistic. So I don't think I've ever really pulled yellow before. I gotta see. This seems kind of new to me. I don't pull this very often, if so. Let's see. All right, so yellow. This is the solar plexus chakra. Not surprising. Um, Gemini is the zodiac connection to this card, which, we're talking a lot about. Uranus moving into Gemini next year, officially. So, this is a card of knowledge, wisdom, intellect, mental faculties, teacher or student, study, deciphering information, assimilation of data, sorting through logic, caution, connecting to gut instincts, microbiome, clarity of thoughts, focus, willpower, life force, memories, and happiness. A little bit about some thoughts on this card. So it's awakening the mind, which we have our magician, we have our psyche. Gemini too, it's a ruler, planetary ruler is Mercury. So here's another, full circle moment as well. Awakening the mind, learning to base things off of instinctual feelings rather than appearances. Very much the Emperor, very much Aries, being in the moment, very much the Fool, taking a leap of faith into the unknown. Um, the lower vibration is addictions, obsessions, and control issues manifest if avoidant or masking true feelings. So that's the downside of power, the downside of the emperor. Like there's going to, it's not like these people are going to roll over backwards. It's this feeling of there's going to be this new element of control against this older element of control. Um, a big decision or something needing discrimination and meditation, four of swords here. Um, Mental health and checking in with our body. Self-discipline and learning by doing. Control. That's like the main word of this. This spread is control. Judgments or power issues. Bladder and bile, moving energy out, cleaning out fluids in the body. So we need all be taking some type of cleanse. Clearing of toxins and blockages. This can be physically as well as energetically. Helps us reorient conscious thoughts when in states of confusion. Control issues and power struggles, be mindful of obsessions, finding joy and humor. So, a lot there, a lot to contemplate there. But yeah, I mean, that's a little bit of the downside of Aries too, is there's that warrior fighting spirit, the famous Aries anger, short, and quick, but very, very volatile, and scary. If you ever had an Aries yell at you, you know. But this is, really kind of telling us that, there's going to be a new sense of control against an old sense of control, trying to be mindful of people who are obsessed with power and control, who are trying to control you, thinking about how you control yourself, how are you showing up to be the best version of yourself. But I think a lot of this is, staying on this path and not forgetting joy and happiness. Joy and happiness can still exist. And maybe that's how we can get our Queen of Wands upright, is to connecting to that higher vibration, of joy. I feel too, the magician, like let's have fun experiencing community. Let's have fun navigating our creative talents and hobbies and gifts. Go to the concerts, travel, watch the movie, indulge in something informative, taking the class, um, hanging out with people. Like there needs to be some type of social interaction, and that's how we keep the vibration high, is through joy, is through participating in things that give us joy. And that's why it's so important to write down the things that you're good at, and that is a way that you feel better about your contribution to the world, to your contribution to building this new paradigm in live time. So, and another way to control, your life, to take better control, a better handle on your life when so much collectively seems um, uncontrollable. That's how you keep your center. So that is the reading. That is the tarot reading for November 2025. Again, everything will be on my Substack, so take a gander there. I hope this reading brought you some clarity for the month. I know it was intense, but everything has come full circle, and I think it kind of ended with a cherry on top. And this has given us instruction on what we need to do to survive, basically, to take our country back, basically, too. But yeah, this is the reading for November 2025. Thank you so much. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you also to my paid subscribers. I'm getting more paid subscribers as time goes on. So thank you for your support to allow me to continue doing this and putting time and energy behind this Substack, behind this project. And I will see you next month. Also, too, I will be posting as the month goes on, my Black Friday sale. So I will be having a couple different services for year ahead readings for 2026 that are very popular, and just, awesome discounts on readings, if you want one with me. So I appreciate it. Stay tuned. Make sure you're on my email list as well for sneak peeks of everything, and I will see you next month.